You are listening to the Guru Code podcast, and today we're discussing the field of mental and emotional resilience in business. Now, I love the fact that this has tweaked your interest enough to join me, because if you master this area, you will be leagues, and I promise you, leagues ahead of any of your peers. For so many of us, this is the one area that has taken decades to mature and decades to get comfortable with. So hello. Today, mental and emotional resilience in business are so often seen as one of the same thing. The same, it is literally just the same. A P is a P, that sort of thing. It's, they don't see there's no differentiation between them. And yet, without doubt, as much as they are seamless, they are two distinct processes that happen, just like a domino effect. In leadership and as a business owner, how often do you feel, deflated and at times can feel, quite frankly, rejected? Waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, still asking yourself, what am I missing? Is there something else? If the pressure isn't coming from the political arena, it's coming from the competition, staff, customers, or even family members. Great swathes of anxiety and self-doubt as you put your head above that parapet once again. And, you put your services out there, don't you? And your ideas just exposed on the open market. So it's important to remind ourselves that we're one of just a complete system. We can't function without that complete system. So how we think, which obviously is the mental resilience, will affect our emotions, i.e. emotional resilience, which directly affects our behavioural response, so the actions we take. If it's not about pushing, how can I put this? It just isn't about pushing past those blocks. So many people, feel the fear and do it anyway. I don't buy into that. This is not about that. You don't just push past things and pretend they're not there, because they remain there. And in actual fact, they get stronger and they get more and more difficult to push past over the years. So, and it's not about that stiff upper lip. And it certainly isn't about growing that tough skin and broad shoulders. Oh my God, I don't know how many times I've heard that in boardrooms. It's okay, I've got tough skin, I've got thick skin, it's okay, I've got broad shoulders, I can cope with that. Actually, we can often, when it's just on the occasion, we can take the knocks and roll with the punches, but eventually it breaks through. So the term resilience, like a lot of our words, it comes from Latin, resilio, which translated means to bounce back. The word resilience itself, though, it almost suggests that Teflon, waterproof, impenetrable, thick skin, doesn't it? The armoured-like effect and approach to leadership and business. But it's anything but, and that's the crux of what we're trying to talk about today. It's anything but that thick skin. You see, most often in my world, working with leaders and business owners in the terms of emotional and mental resilience, in mental resilience is mindset. That's what we talk about, and it's openly discussed and as politically and socially acceptable to discuss and up for discussion with complete strangers. It's discussed with, quite frankly, logic and a cool, pragmatic approach, that sort of almost surface-like discussions. But it totally blindsides its cousin, the emotional side. And I'll tell you why I think that is. I believe it's our culture. We are so frightened of emotions. Emotions are uncomfortable at times to experience. There's no getting away from it. How many times have you heard someone apologise because they become choked up or they have a tear when they're talking about something that really means something to them? You see, emotions can't be shared to lessen our discomfort, can they? I think this is where this tit for tat comes. I'm feeling pain, therefore you should feel pain. But we can't share it, and it can be extremely uncomfortable for onlookers to witness. And that's the other side of the coin. Some people don't like it when someone maybe tears up in front of them. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to say. And it's the saying we don't need. Both of those things leave us vulnerable, whether we're experiencing it or whether we're watching somebody else experience it. It just leaves us completely inept. Now, I've struggled for this piece and others to find a definition which truly captures how or what I see as an emotional resilience with any finesse. There's plenty out there, but that one thing that captures it all, the essence of it. Drug companies, which are the bane of my life because they've always nipped into the psychological realms and they don't belong there. But drug companies talk about emotional resilience in having the ability to succeed personally and professionally amidst of a high-pressured, fast-moving and continuously changing environment. I mean, how stuffed shirt is that? Seriously. And, there's so detached, isn't it, from emotion? It couldn't be further from it. Then there's another one, the attitude and skill set of the attitude and skill set of an individual, allowing them to cope with great efficiency and effectiveness in periods of change and stress. Yet again, change and stress. They're missing the depth of this whole issue. And it is so deep, which is why I think people find it so difficult to go there. Neither example takes on board that wide range of emotions, does it? Not all are sad and traumatic. The numbers of clients who I have come across who shrink away from celebrating their achievements, they're not in their small numbers. They shy away from going, I had such a fantastic day and I've done brilliantly. This is emotional intelligence. This is emotional resilience, because this is what banks us up. This is what we put in our storage systems to help us when things are getting rocky. I see emotional resilience as a proactive skill we learn and we use to enhance our pleasures for life and our environment. Emotional resilience is when you accept and adopt what we call a locus of control, which in layman's terms means you choose to dance the rapids and learn to dance with the tide. Now that comes from a country and western song, but I just think it's lovely. It says what life does to you. Sometimes you ride those waves, don't you? The rolling waves that come in and you surf your way in it. And it feels like actually there's no effort in something. It just goes smoothly. And then on other times, it does feel like you're trying to get through rapids. You're getting knocked side to side. So I make no apology from going down to Garth Brooks level. But making you the cause of your life, making you completely and fully autonomous and celebrating it. That's what we're talking about. That's what happens when you have got that emotional and mental resilience going on together. Emotional resilience is curated skill. It means it's built, right? You can't buy it. You can't be given it. We curate it. So yes, we learn from the nurturing that we've experienced growing up, but it is nothing to what we can achieve when we become conscious of our choices and invest in ourselves, literally take ourselves as important, taking matters into our own hands. It's about not turning around and blaming anybody else. It really is about looking inward. Let's not hide it and think it comes without hard work, because it doesn't. It's work and it's commitment. Emotional resilience does differ from individual to individual, but for every individual, it does result in having the awareness necessary to gather your thoughts and stabilize those emotions. You see, to reframe your negative thinking, and give you the strength to respond to situations, this is when you bounce back stronger. Just like a muscle in training, its strength and ability to flex comes from the duress that you put it under. Once we start to understand that it's not about a battle, it's not about winning, there is only one outcome when we go into battle with ourselves or yourself, and that's loss on a grand scale. Our aim out of all of this is to master the art of living through experiencing everything from the position of being grounded. And I love talking about being grounded because it's the starting point. It is the foundation from which we can launch everything. Emotional resilience and our attention to our skills is not a life jacket that we pull on when in life we start taking on water. The skill of emotional resilience should be practiced daily, not just a part of a morning ritual, but throughout the day. When you're in full leadership mode, this is when it just resonates through every vein in your body. Becoming emotionally aware is when you are monitoring your responses and noticing where your thoughts and feelings are coming from. This means as you move from one meeting, job, telephone call, engagement to another, you take note of what you've just experienced. Mental notes. I don't care if you write them down. It just takes a moment to congratulate yourself, a moment to take note of how the event ended and what you'd like to happen next. It's about how you feel. In my opinion, there are 5 pillars which will help guide you in working on your skills and your emotional resilience. The first pillar is about developing that sense of self. If I may, I'd like to tell you a quick story just to explain this, because it might be a bit easier. A man went to see a therapist, and after a short while, the therapist turned to him and said, "You seem very together for someone who has never had therapy. So why are you seeking this now?" And the man told the therapist, "I'm a good husband and father. I'm a good friend. I'm a good employee. I feel if I could be great at all those things on my own, I would have achieved that by now. I haven't, so therefore I need your help." The therapist nodded and thought, and then spoke. You're a good partner for your partner and child. You're a good employee for your company. You are a good friend for your friends. Who are you for yourself? You see, exploring your values and what you hold as important to you, understanding your beliefs and how you guide, that's how they guide you. What makes you you? How do you see yourself in the grand scheme of life? It's when we don't have that sense of self, we allow for unregulated emotional flooding to leak out. And believe you me, emotions will seep through the smallest of gaps. So that's the first pillar. The second is having a purpose. As human beings in life, we have to have a purpose to getting up, a purpose for doing anything, the reason for doing and being. And that's ties in so heavily with self-awareness. Can you start seeing and building that link? This is almost like a loop. Having that sense of self has a greater impact on our emotional well-being, of feelings, of how we're adding value. So you've got that purpose in front of you, something allowing you or pulling you, magnetic pull towards something. And then the third pillar is engaging in curiosity. It's one of the things that we used to talk about a lot in the NHS is professional curiosity. And often when we had problems, which is everything has with human factors, there was often an underlying lack of professional curiosity. So curiosity for you as a professional is the curiosity about what's happening and how you're reacting to it. So there's things like asking those bigger questions, the what if questions, developing a sense of adventure and excitement and state of flexibility for growth. It'll all feed into and maintain that emotional resilience because it becomes exciting rather than something to dread. It encourages the creative, evolutionary drive that humans have that's left over from those prehistoric days. Now, the fourth pillar is embracing being the student of life. And I do talk about this quite a lot because there's something very free about being the learner, the student, who suggests that no one has ever suggested that you should know everything. Stay in that learning zone. That learning zone is just on the cusp of your comfort zone where you remain alert and observant. It's where your emotional and muscle can be worked out to support you on that, in that curiosity state. We talked about the muscle and being put under duress. That's where we need us to be. So then always return to being grounded. That's our fifth column, a place which offers us balance and calm, where you stand back from the noise and look at the landscape to gain that clarity and perspective. It is your foundation rock. That's what we're looking for, to come back down to earth and feel the earth connection with our feet and a place of safety. Now, as a final thought, I want to leave you with Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, okay, because I think this sums up all of us. What lies behind us and what lies before us are but tiny matters compared to what lies within us. We are the most incredible creations walking this planet, so let's make the most of them. So I'd just like to thank you for joining me for this episode, and as always, invite you to get in contact with me with your thoughts, your questions about this episode and others. My details will always be in the show notes, so do contact me. So until next time, thank you.